back to the John Daigle Show. We lost track of which episode we're on a long time ago. The white towel has been thrown on that bit to start every episode. But it is the time to get you ready for all your drafts. And so far, I think we've done a great job of that. Last week on Thursdays, the Most Accurate Podcast, wherever you get your podcast at, Paulson and I walked through the perfect 2 rounds from every draft slot just to get you set up for an idea of what you're looking at for 12-team PPR leagues. That's covered. You've seen me already draft a high-stakes $2,000 league from the 101 and then explain on this very show, I think that was last week at this time, maybe 2 weeks ago, how to approach the 101. So you have that strategy. We've also discussed, well, we're going to discuss a 14-team league tonight. There will be a stream with myself, some professional bettors. I'll introduce everyone to you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself and Connor Allen co-hosting this 14-team draft together. So we will get you ready for your 14-team league. And then, of course, the only one we need to file in is a Superflex league. My home league, one of my few home leagues, actually took place in the Superflex league this past week. Full PPR, tight end premium, 3 wide receiver, Superflex. So with the struggles I had, the few battles, the few questions I'd ask myself mid-draft, I can then take these issues that I had and present them to everyone and explain it as we go on. So let's go ahead and do that in a Superflex mock draft together, just to know what to be prepared for. This is where I drafted for my own home league, Superflex 104, and I want to start there. I think the question we should always be asking ourselves is, as I'm definitely going to turn off the sound, the question we should always be asking ourselves, hold on, is this Superflex? Yes, it is Superflex. But the computer is not comprehending that. Let's get back here. And apparently, the computer would like to do, can you see that? Let's try this. The computer would like to grab running backs and wide receivers. That's not the case, but that's fine. We're still going to do this right now. So I think the first question you ask yourself in any Superflex draft is, what is your top tier quarterbacks? It can vary. My personal top tier is, even though I have Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen, whatever order you want to put them, as a 12-team league tier, for Superflex, I want that tier to extend to the point where I'm comfortable drafting them over Justin Jefferson. That's what we're looking for. And so for me, it is the top 7 quarterbacks, not the top 3. That's what I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable with the first 7 picks of Superflex being my tier of quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, then in order, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Cut off. So yes, I am willing to draft Justin Herbert and Justin Fields in a Superflex league over Justin Jefferson, assuming they won't come back to me in the second round. Let's go ahead and get this board started again. And once you know your own personal tier of quarterbacks, that's when you can start drafting differently. What also happens is, I think people tend to force the second and third quarterback, especially the second, understanding that it's Superflex. And this Superflex, even in a full PPR, is not correct at all. So we're going to have to talk about tiers of quarterbacks anyways. But what I think happens a lot of the time, outside of AI just not understanding what to do, is people try to force the second quarterback, and thus they end up reaching past tiers. For example, in this case, since we know in a normal Superflex league, Josh Allen's not going to be there, right? It's going to come back and it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, maybe Deshaun Watson, maybe basically the next tier of guys who are all the same. I have Deshaun Watson over that tier. The Dak, Tua, not Aaron Rodgers. Dak, Tua, Kirk, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff. It's usually those guys. And Anthony Richardson. I have Deshaun Watson well ahead of all those guys for his rushing ability. Eighth among quarterbacks in carries per game last year, 6 over the last month and a half of the season. And we saw him in the first week of the preseason, and Deshaun Watson had 3 carries on 5 dropbacks. So we expect the carry rate to carry over. Also, remember, last year was Deshaun Watson's first season not averaging, it wasn't even a season, but he didn't average 20 points per game for the first time in his career. He averaged 14.5. It's such a wide margin, given everything that he himself, as a terrible person, put himself through, that we expect on the field, at least for fantasy, for that to bounce back. We're not worrying about last year's anomaly, historically terrible performance. We don't care about that. He's going to bounce back most likely. So I have Deshaun Watson ahead of Trevor Lawrence in that same tier, if only because he has a high rushing floor. But that's not what I'm asking myself. I don't necessarily have to look for a strong QB2. On the comeback, really, I'm looking at the skill positions, because the goal of Superflex, I think the goal of fantasy, is still to have the best players, right? We still want the best players. And so in this case, I am then saying, okay, in this tier of players, I have Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Devonta Smith. That's my next tier of receivers. From next tier running backs, I have, it would have been Tony Pollard. And then it's a drop-off, right? Because then we go to Jahmyr Gibbs, Ramondre Stevenson, in whatever order you want them in. And then everyone's the same. Then Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Ken Walker, Dameon Pierce, all the way to Alexander Madison. Everyone's the same. So if that were the case, I would have... Can we do that, actually? I don't think so. No, we can't. Okay. I need to try it out. So if that were the case, understanding the tier drop-offs, right, and that we're still going for the best player, I tell myself, Tony Pollard, I have a full tier above Ramondre, Najee, that group. Thus, I need to grab the last running back in that tier, because that's the whole point of tier drafting, is to take the last player, since we consider all those players the same. We just want to let everyone make the mistake for us, and then we let it fall to us. So in this case, in Tony Pollard, I'm not only getting ahead of what I believe is a full tier ahead of the rest of the running backs and other positions, I'm looking and I see Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, right? All in that, and Devonta Smith, who I'm going to take now, all in the next tier receivers, and I say, if I take Tony Pollard now, that's 6 picks to go, at least 4 wide receivers on the board. I think maybe one can come back to me that I have in the tier before, DK Metcalf. I don't have T. Higgins and DK Metcalf in that tier. I have them in the next one. But that's why I think Superflex, really, it's about, one, taking a stand and asking yourself and figuring it out before your draft, what is your first tier quarterbacks, right? What is the point you're willing to push that position until you draft Justin Jefferson, or I guess Christian McCaffrey if you want to, but I'd still think, you know, if your life were on the line, if you had one draft, because a lot of us have exposure. I'm in too many leagues, so I don't really take Justin Jefferson 101 every time just to have my portfolio larger. But for your home league that you're prepping for, it's probably one of maybe 2 leagues. It's maybe just your only league. And if that's the case, your life is on the line, you take Justin Jefferson every time. 100% of the time, one league. Easy choice. But you have to know how far to push it and what is your tier of quarterbacks. I don't care if it's the same as my tier. If you think Justin Fields and Justin Herbert don't belong ahead of Justin Jefferson, cool. Take Justin Jefferson, whatever. As long as you have it figured out for yourself. And then it really becomes prudent to understand the rest of the positional tiers. In that case, if I wasn't auto-drafted, because I was talking to you, I would have taken Tony Pollard, understanding I don't care about these running backs. I like them, but I want them to come back to me at value. Tony Pollard makes the most sense. Devonta Smith, I have in the same tier as Wilson and Olave, thus we'll take him on the comeback. That's easy. All we're doing is picking this apart. And then when it comes back here, again, everyone is still the same. If Mark Andrews were on the board, that also makes sense. Justin Herbert in this case is here. So again, I think really at the 4th round in a Superflex league, I don't think Deshaun Watson will be there. But for me, that's an Deshaun Watson or Anthony Richardson is an auto click. I think you just have to take their rushing upside in that range in the 4th round if they come to you, given that they still have high floors. The passing game unlocks their ceiling, but the floors are a gift, like the rushing floors. Remember, the Bears last year, for as terrible as a passer Justin Fields was, not only that, but as little volume as he had, right? Like the Bears' 22.2 pass attempts per game were the fewest of any offense since the 1979 Chiefs. Like historically did not throw the ball in the air whatsoever. But Justin Fields was still the QB6 in points per game because of the rushing floor. The passing unlocks the ceiling. The rushing ability gives you a top 12 floor, essentially. So I don't worry about Deshaun Watson falling off the face of the earth. I don't worry about Anthony Richardson being bad at football. You have the rushing floor. Cool. You're immediately locked in as a low-end QB1 and probably going and should go in that 4th round, I bet is our QB2. And so that's when I start looking at it. In this case, even, I wouldn't necessarily force Deshaun Watson, but I don't hate it and then being done with it altogether. I'm going to go back to tier drafting, okay? We're just going to get back because remember, we are still asking ourselves and telling ourselves we want the best players possible. We just want to be good at fantasy football. We want good players to score points. Sometimes it's that easy. And so as long as we have our ducks in a row and everything tiered off, I think that's really the only key to Superflex leagues, just to make sure you have it all in order. Now, if Deshaun Watson, if Anthony Richardson, Tua even, I'm not really trying to grab a Kirk Cousins, but, you know, if that whole tier of guys, Geno Smith included, I love Geno Smith as a QB2. Hopefully you can get him like in the 4th or 5th round. But if that tier of guys are no longer there, you're probably looking at platooning your QB2 spot between 2 late-round guys and instead picking apart positional options. I'm just looking here to make sure I have all my ducks in a row. In this case, I hope Rachaad White comes back to me, but I also know James Cook is there. I would not expect Rachaad White and James Cook to go. So I am going to go ahead and take Tyler Lockett. Oh, nope. I'm going to take Deontay Johnson. Tyler Lockett goes. Don't care about tight end. 1 tight end league, PPR, not tight end premium. Rachaad White comes back. Cool. And that's what we're doing. We're just again, letting the board do the entire work for us. Have I not been showing the board this entire time? Historical anomalies. You watch this show every week. You know you have to remind me because I get talking and I don't watch the screen. All right. So this is what's happening right here as I'm explaining. We know our tiers. Quarterback at the 101. It comes back. I would have taken Tony Pollard if I didn't get timed out. It comes back. I take a wide receiver between Waddle, Smith, Olave, because that's where I have them at, and Wilson. I have Wilson ahead of all of them. Then I can look for my QB2 in this range if it falls properly. If it is the next range of guys that I consider all the same, even more so than Lawrence and Watson, like Lawrence Watson, maybe Anthony Richardson for the rushing floor. But either way, chop it off there. Dak, Kirk, Geno, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't know. It's just all the same guys. So I'm not really pressing to get one of those. If that's the case, if I don't get one of the players I want, I really don't mind not forcing the issue. And instead, like I mentioned, platooning. In this case, James Cook comes back. I don't know if that'll happen in your draft, but we're going to play it anyways like that. Anthony Richardson won't be on the board. Again, AI doesn't know how to draft a Superflex, even though I did list Superflex right here. Nonetheless, we're still just picking apart players. Tight ends were already done. We don't care about anyone now. After Freiermuth and Evan Ingram, and David Njoku, you stop caring. You just don't even, just let everyone have everyone. Doesn't even matter. even like a player like Tyler Higbee, it's just a high floor option. It's not a ceiling option at all. You're just taking the targets at that point. In this case, I'm looking, running back is all the same, all rounded out. I think we're looking at Gabe Davis here. Anthony Richardson is not going to be here, although I'd probably do that anyways. Anyways, let's just take a pick. We'll get to some platoon quarterbacks options. There it is, Genji. As Genji mentioned, you have to list 2 quarterback, not Superflex. Okay, that's why AI was wrong. And that, if that's the case, actually, can we just like redo it? How about this? In draft, okay. No, absolutely do not convert this to a league. Let's do this. Mock drafts, new NFL mock draft. Settings. PPR. We're going to do this together. PPR, 12 teams. I'll give myself 3 minutes. QB running back. Flex quarterback. Right? 15 rounds is what I wanted for everybody. And then, is that what I do, Genji? I do 2 quarterbacks like that. There you go. Boom. Thank y'all. Okay. 2 quarterbacks. We have the Superflex. Let's save it. And now we ride. These are the settings we want. Okay. Let's get out. I'm going to go 104 again. Now let's do this properly together. Boom. Okay. This is already looking stronger. This is a better example. All right. Big 3. Or in my case, big 7. Again, figure it out yourself. Lamar Jackson's my QB4. Justin Fields my QB5, although he's neck and neck with Herbert. I just like rushing floors. Then Herbert, then Joe Burrow. All right. Now this is totally fair. This is right. It comes back to us. Sean Watson a tier above the rest. Nick Chubb, we're definitely going to draft here, but let's go through our order here. CeeDee Lamb's also pretty sexy. But Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, I have neck and neck and well ahead of Taylor, Henry, and Jacobs. CeeDee Lamb I also have above. Yeah, Mark Andrews as well. So in this case, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. I kind of feel like I can't go wrong with one of CeeDee Lamb, Chubb, and Pollard. And maybe even we tell ourselves we draft Lamb. Oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown, actually. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of Lamb. Full PPR. And maybe Tony Pollard comes back in a super flex. I think that's what we do here. Much better. You're right, Genji. Much better. All right. That's what we're going to do. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Chubb and Pollard, I have in a different tier. Thank you. Okay, good. Let me just have Tony Pollard. All right. So ideally, I wanted 2 of 4 between Amon-Ra, CeeDee, Pollard, and Chubb. Chubb would be fine over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't care what you do. But full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. I think I can get at least 1 running back there out of Chubb and Pollard. So that's what we're doing. That was on my own personal preference. But I think everyone was looking at 2 of those 4, understanding that we still didn't mind waiting on the next group of quarterbacks. And from here's where it gets fun. We have Jahmyr Gibbs well above all these other guys. Well above. Deebo Samuel would be the next off the board for me. Yep. And then we look at quarterback. Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Anthony Richardson with 3 other teams who could easily go quarterback before me. So either, for me, it's Gibbs and then hope that one of these 4 come back. And if they don't, we're immediately platooning. We don't care about George Kittle and Kyle Pitts. So honestly, if we're picking like the bottom of a tier, if that's what we're trying to do, as I told you, because it's just We're trying to let everyone make the mistakes. Then we let this slide, and we hope one of these 4 come back. They might not, honestly. But I think we hope one of those 4 come back. And then we instead take Jahmyr Gibbs because we have him well over. Like, we have him over Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Breece Hall in redraft. So, yes, we take Jahmyr Gibbs, and then we hope one of the four, thank you, come back. And in this case, which is, again, this is all we're doing. We're just trying to say, okay, I'm taking the bottom of tiers, and I'm understanding my tiers more so than in 12-team redraft leagues. Superflex, it's so prudent. That's really the strategy is. And I didn't realize that till I made my own mistakes in my home league this past week. The team is still fine. It's not sexy, but it's fine. But I didn't realize you had to be so up to date until I did it myself and then realized, oh, this is different. This is definitely different. So, Anthony Richardson, done. I like what we're doing here so far. And again, we are prioritizing good players at the end of the day. That's what we want. We don't have to go quarterback there, but we felt like after that, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson is still a step above those players by a mile. So now it comes back to us. We are definitely done at running back right now. I do not care about running back here. 2 wide receivers. I have Tyler Lockett ahead of Mike Williams. No, but I have Deontay Johnson ahead of Tyler Lockett. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to take our guy. And then hopefully, if Tyler Lockett comes back, I would take him, yes, over Rachaad White. And maybe James Cook comes back. Just trying to get the tears in my head. Yes. Tyler Lockett, let's do that. Over Michael Pittman and Brandon Ayuk. Neck and neck with Jackson Smith-Njigba. If anyone ever takes Smith-Njigba over Lockett, I genuinely, it's not even worth the discussion. They're all, neck and neck. Same thing. Whatever works for you. As long as you know your preferences. Here, David Montgomery, James Cook, we have well ahead of the next group of guys. Jahan Dotson, also, we may have right there with Jordan Addison. Probably ahead of Jordan Addison. So that's the issue. As anomalies, yes, you are correct. That's what we're also looking at. That's why I think 104 or 109, you're just kind of gauging what the rest of the teams do. Montgomery, Cook. I think I'm going Dotson. Especially given the Terry McLaurin injury that may hold him out to week 1. I think I'm going Dotson. And then we get lucky. That can always happen that James Cook comes back to us. We took a chance there, but we're still picking apart. So let's say that if you don't have Anthony Richardson, right? Came back. Yep. Yes. You let Anthony Richardson go. You instead want one of these guys. No big deal. Then you're left platooning QB 2-3. So what are you doing? I think you're waiting. If you get that anchor quarterback, right? You tear off your first set of quarterbacks in Superflex. If you end up just picking apart every other position and platooning QB 2-3, I think you are waiting for this range. I think you're waiting for the 9th and 10th round. And you're making that platoon between 2 of Kenny Pickett, Brock Purdy, Sam Howell, Mac Jones, and Desmond Ridder. Those are my 5. Isolated late round guys. I want 2 of those 5 if I'm platooning the QB2. And if that's the case, then we know we're going to we know we would, not in this case because we have Richardson, we know we would take 2 of those 5. So I just don't mind letting them slide here. It's not a big deal. We're going to keep on picking apart positional plays. Sky Moore is up there as well. Zay Flowers is up there. Zay Flowers is pretty good. So I'm basically asking, do I want Rashad Penny, Brian Robinson, or Zay Flowers? In this case, I think I just let these 2 fall and go Zay Flowers. because I have Zay Flowers well above these guys. Sky Moore also up there, but okay. I let him fall. That was not a mistake. We knew what we were doing. We knew there was a great chance they couldn't come back to us. So we have P. Ryan. The computer had 2 quarterbacks already and did not go a 3. And so I also think that's why in a Superflex league, you do need to watch your entire draft room, because what's happened is that the market has dictated the lack of demand in the later rounds for a quarterback. Since everyone we're looking, I think every team has 2 quarterbacks by now. Yes. And so if you were to platoon, that means you can actually just keep on waiting, because it's not important for any other team to grab that second or third quarterback. Thus, you can keep waiting on our group of 5 we mentioned. It won't happen in every room. There might be 1 or 2 other teams who are doing the same strategy. But in this case, you look around and say, wow, I'm in a great position already because the rest of the league already took 2 quarterbacks. So the demand is not high for these guys that I'm actually sitting on and I have to draft. I think Sky Moore or Samaji P. Ryan is probably our pick here, but we're going to go ahead and get receiver out of the way. And we're probably done with receiver now, honestly. This is what we're looking at so far for a Superflex. Lockett, Dotson, Flowers, Moore on the bench. 2 more spots. We're probably going, we're going to take running backs, I think. Pollard, Gibbs, James Cook, 5 running backs most likely. We're going Tank Bigsby here. Yep. And again, we are only doing this. We are only feeling confident in this because we sat down beforehand. We did just a hair of work, a little bit of work. And we said, we know our tiers. So in this case, Tyler Higbee, since I don't have a starting tight end, may make sense. But again, Tyler Higbee doesn't win your league, right? Tyler Higbee's still Tyler Higbee. He's just there as a high floor option. And so, like, what's the difference between Tyler Higbee, Juwan Johnson, and Jake Ferguson? And Luke Musgrave, right? And Kadon. Nothing. So, like, I don't care. I'm still trying to get these bench darts that win my league. And so I'm passing on the floor of a starting spot, understanding it's all the same. And then I'm instead going a high ceiling option like Jaylen Warren. I don't know what's going to happen. Jaylen Warren might not have any standalone value, but we know he's 1 injury away, but we know, like, maybe he's a flex. Maybe. Even if I don't think so, maybe. Range of outcomes. And also, if Najee Harris is ever injured, Jaylen Warren's an immediate top 12 back, an RB1 that we just got on our bench in the last round. Same for Tank Bigsby. So that's why I feel comfortable in saying, yes, Tyler Higbee is a high floor, but Tyler Higbee doesn't win your league. So who cares? Let's just wait. It's all the same. In this case, I will then go either Juwan Johnson or Jake Ferguson. It doesn't matter. I wish I had more confidence in Juwan and them not having so many freaking tight ends on the roster. I'm going to go Jake Ferguson. It doesn't matter. We're just getting, it's a onesie position. It's not tight end premium. We're only getting that. Okay. So again, this is how it worked out. We tiered off our QB1 personally and said, I'm willing to go to this point before I take Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey. Or if it's a tight end premium, Travis Kelce. Comes back and we play the game of how many running backs are in this tier. In this case, we told ourselves Tony Pollard and Nick Chubb are well above Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. So are we going to play that game? Because we also have Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb in a tier of wide receiver 1s. It's splitting hairs, and honestly, if we do this exact draft again, I don't know if I do the same. Maybe I take Nick Chubb here. It's that close. But we know we want 2 of those 4. And in this case, we got 2 of those 4 because we were just playing the game and seeing what the board would do behind us. It comes back, and we tell ourselves, because we are understanding tiers in a Superflex, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, we're just considering in the same tier. Thus, that's 4 picks that have to go within a 6-pick allotment in order to miss out. Let's take our chances there. And instead go Jahmyr Gibbs, who we have well ahead, a full tier ahead of Aaron Jones, Ken Walker, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, that whole group of same guys. We grab Jahmyr Gibbs. One of the 4 quarterbacks falls back to us. And then we just start picking apart receiver. And honestly, all these guys are the same. Like, I would have gone Christian Watson ahead of Deontay. I still have Tyler Lockett ahead of Chris Godwin. But, like, they're all the same. They're all the same. I don't care. All the same. So we're just playing preferences there. Mike Williams, too. Playing preferences. But we know at least we have these guys over this group of running backs. Because this group of running back is the zero ceiling running backs. These are the guys that historically do not win leagues in committees as dead zone RBs. But these are the guys who have won your leagues in the past. So really, we're just wanting to avoid the zero ceiling running backs in that range. It's like RB 13 through 22 and whatever ADP interface you're drafting on. And instead picking apart wide receiver ceiling options at that point, Jahan Dotson included. Once the dust is settled from that zero ceiling RB tier, that's when we start looking to the Rachaad Whites, the James Cooks. I don't even mind Brian Robinson, Zach Charbonnet. I think really drafts set up this year to where wide receiver and running back is top heavy. And then very clearly it becomes a major gap in running back. Thus, that's what makes it so easy to pick wide receivers in that spot where we shouldn't be picking running backs in that range in the drafts. And then wide receiver hits that gap, a cliff. I think the cliff is after Sky Moore, personally. It's like Sky Moore, Nico Collins, and then who cares? Like, I like Marvin Mims a whole lot, but we just don't know. And so, like, Marvin Mims, Jaden Reed, those guys I like. It's still like, what if I can just grab these contingency running backs and stash them instead? To me, that's the way drafts work out in 2023 altogether, not just Superflex leagues. Also, the name of the 14-team draft we're doing tonight is called the FSM draft. Again, it's in like a group chat I'm in with some professional bettors, some fantasy analysts. It's just a combination of people. And I'll bring them on one at a time on the stream. It may be a shit show, I don't know. But either way, it's a live 14-team draft with actual skin in the game. So you're going to see that played out. But anyways, at the end of the day, that's how I'm attacking Superflex leagues. I hope that made sense. And I hope that helps you out from every spot. And again, if you're platooning that QB2 spot, one, understand the market, which the market is just 11 other people. So look at their teams and see what they need and see if they are forcing your hand. And two, microanalysis. I want 2 of the 5 of Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder. Mac Jones and Desmond Ridder go much later than the other 3. But I want 2 of those 5 if I'm platooning and doing a hero quarterback approach. Get ready. That's how we're doing it. Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. I'll be right back around for a 14-team league. And remember, if you have drafts this upcoming weekend, not only will I be hanging around the Discord at 4 for 4, answering your questions, you can DM me in the Discord there, and I'll answer them on draft weekend because I'll be doing my own drafts. So I'll have it up the entire time helping you out. But also you can get access to that and our rankings and projections and everything else. We even have the waiver wire column coming out in, 15, 16 days? Wow. Gosh, don't remind me. But you can get access to all that with the promo code YouTube. 25% off at 4 for 4. It was already $39. It's already too cheap. I would make it more expensive, understanding the work we've all put in. But $39 and then knock off 25% of it. Knock off a quarter of it with the promo code YouTube. So either way, we'll be back for free tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, for a 14-team league as we continue doing so many different drafts to prep you for one of the biggest draft weekends. So until then, thanks for tuning in. See you tonight. And until then, it's only like 12 hours, so just be a little bit kinder than what's required in that 12 hours. We'll see you then.